So I've spent over 800 hours in Satisfactory and just beat the game. You're probably wondering why, because it doesn't take that long to beat the game. Well, I've started over and over and over, and I always wanted to find the most efficient way to build stuff. I didn't want to make spaghetti, and every time I start, it starts out nice and neat and clean, and then when it starts getting more complicated, I start running conveyor belts everywhere like a lunatic. Well, this game that I played with Jemson as a multiplayer, I decided when I got to a certain point to go back and redo a lot of stuff, and I did it quite differently this time. So let me go ahead and show you. So here I am. I had gotten pretty much my copper set up. I got my iron factory set up. I started working on a building over there to do, I don't remember, but we'll figure that out in a minute. We had some oil set up. We did get some quartz. And I was just looking at this and it was very separated. And I know there's a lot of people that like to do builds that are, individual. But I wanted one massive factory to kind of hold everything in it. And I really do love the idea of a bus system where everything's coming in on a bus. So yeah, over here, I forget what this is. I think this is steel. Yeah, it's steel. So I decided that I was going to work on maybe putting in a bus system. And I was so enthralled with like bus systems that I watched probably every video out there on bus systems. And yeah, I decided to give it a go. So let's go ahead and check that out. So right about here is where I started running some buses. Let me show you. So I have factories within here. And let's go ahead up. And here's where I started running buses around the outside of the buildings. So I had different buildings within inside that I was smelting stuff and constructing stuff. And then I had this bus that kind of ran around the outside of the building. And it worked quite nicely. But there was still something it was lacking. And I couldn't figure out what. So I went back and I felt like I needed to go back to the drawing board. Whoops, not under a step. So I kept thinking about it and thinking about it. And this is what I come up with. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So this is what I did. I ripped everything out. Everything. It is, just about everything. Ripped down this huge building I had with all the buses. I ripped down my iron factory, my copper factory, and I left my steel, but I don't even think it's producing anything, and I just almost fell in a hole. Yeah. And I had all these storage bins everywhere. But what really intrigued me was Jemson made this amazing looking Roman bridge. And it inspired me to kind of make a Roman style building. So that's what I kind of went with. And I decided to do a bus system within that. So let's go take a look at that. Alright, so this is the building I kind of came up with. It's not exactly finished just yet. And it kind of matches in with his Roman bridge. I kind of liked it. I'm not exactly finished with it. Well, I am, but this is an older save. But let me show you what I did. So downstairs, I put in all the conveyor belts that were bringing in all the different materials. So I have bauxite and iron and copper and deuterium, coal, iron, all that good stuff. And I'm pretty much smelting everything down here in this basement area. Then, let's get back over to here. It's quite enormous, by the way. And this is a problem. There we go. So, I have everything coming in. This is my coal here. On the next floor, I did a bunch of constructors. And here's my ore that's bringing in all the deuterium, copper, steel, and iron, for the most part. here's this bus system that I decided to make. So I have rubber, plastic, everything coming in onto this bus system. And the bus system's in the central area of the building. Let me show you. Let's go all the way up if we can. It's not great lift with this. We'll get there. And I have plenty of empty space, so I could put in my manufacturers and my assemblers. But anyway, I kind of have everything getting sent up to these buses. And anytime I need to draw from it, I just put a splitter on there and I bring it into the machines. As you can see here, we have circuit boards. Everything's kind of running in and out. And it worked great. But eventually it did cause spaghetti. Not exactly spaghetti. Let me show you. So eventually I wanted to put in some storage systems. This isn't exactly the neatest, cleanest way that I was envisioning. But it did the job to a certain extent. Because when I got to the endgame stuff, this is what I ended up with. And I got lazy. The building was a little too small for these bigger machines, especially like the particle accelerator. It just got to be a mess. And as you can see, I started running all these lifts in the middle, outside, all over the place. They would just, I couldn't get through from one side to the other. It just became a huge mess. And I started running things everywhere. And it's my own fault. But I did learn a lot. So, what I learned, let me get you to the last step. So here we are. This is right before I beat the game. It's pretty close to the end there. You can see on the top phase 9. And that was pretty much one of my last milestones I needed to make. And as you can see, you start running out of stuff really quickly. So I needed to bring in more copper, and I needed to make copper powder, and yeah, things got a little crazy. Let me show you the inside. So this worked great, right? But I started getting lazier because I started running out of room. You can see half these belts are really empty. And that is because I started to run out of materials. And especially circuit boards and copper, it was just getting slim to none. And what I learned is you probably need more than you think you do. That's number one. Number two, you need more room than you think you do. And there's a lot of stuff, like here. This takes beginning, like say rubber. That's pretty close to the beginning when you get your oil factory. But when you look, it'll take stuff that's all the way on the bottom of your bus and stuff that's all the way at the top of your bus, like heat sinks. And you end up having to run all these crazy things everywhere. Another thing I noticed was I had way too much storage. I had double containers of storage, and stuff like this filled up quite quickly. Like your pipes and, even copper sheets. I was running low on copper sheets, believe it or not. But there was other stuff that I was completely empty on, like plastic, rubber. Endgame takes a lot of plastic and a lot of rubber. Over here we got Caterium. I had 2 stacks of Caterium in these containers, but yet my belts were almost clean of Caterium. And I needed more Caterium. And yet I wasn't making any, so I was running really short on that. So what I've learned is, I think I need to I love this belt system. I love it being in the middle of the building so I can grab stuff. But I think my building needs to be a little bit taller with ceilings, because a lot of stuff like this stuff is bigger. Even these machines right here, these are huge. And what I also think is I need space in between belts that I can put some kind of walkways. So this way I can get through a lot easier than going through with crouching and jumping through. It's a little annoying. I need to make this wider. Maybe a square belt. Like a square bus system would be better, because I can't put anything on this It's just won't. The curved pieces are too much. So I think I would come out a little bit further on each end. But I definitely would like to work with this bus system central, like this again, in a new save. So stay tuned. You might see that real soon. So I did blueprint quite a bit of stuff, and I'll show you down here. All these constructor setups were blueprinted. And then I could pull off of whatever I wanted, and then run this stuff around and link it back into the bus. Downstairs, all the smelters were blueprinted. That helped me to set up all these quick smelting systems very easily. Over here, I can line them up and put them in. I can double them up, whatever I needed. I noticed too, one of the best things with the manifold system is that it's a lot easier to put them in a line like this. And if you have enough ingots and stuff coming in, enough ore coming in, it's not a problem. But you have to make sure it fills up before you actually start the systems. It'll be easier in the long run. If you don't, your end machines will kind of lack. So I do like the manifold system over the load balancing. Overall, it works really well. But yeah, that's going to be up to you. I do suggest blueprinting. Blueprinting is amazing when you get to this part of the game, and you can just kind of throw down what you need for smelters and constructors especially. I mean, when you get to assemblers, you can put them down manually, but this just makes everything so much easier. I usually do 5, but it also depends on your numbers. Check your numbers, but, you know, it works really well. So, I hope this helped you to get a better understanding of really how much stuff you're going to need, because it's quite a bit, and you could make a mess like this. The next time I'm going to give it a go, and I'm going to try not to make it this messy, that's for sure. And we'll see how it goes. I hope you stick around and subscribe and like and share and join me on the next journey in Satisfactory. Till next time. I'll see you next time. Bye.